Crossing time falling for the prince.
Lalin, a modern Thai office girl, obsessed with ancient Chinese dramas, gets sucked into a mysterious painting and wakes up as a stranger in an ancient kingdom. What starts as a desperate struggle to survive turns into something totally unexpected. She captures the attention and heart of Prince Longyu, the cold and stoic third prince, who never believed in love two hearts. Suddenly, he finds himself protecting this strange, outspoken woman, who turns his world upside down. Amid court intrigues, battles for the throne, and hidden secrets of the kingdom, can Lalin find her way back to her own world? Or will her heart make her choose a completely different destiny? This story has it all: romance, comedy, martial arts, palace schemes, and heart-fluttering moments. Get ready to cross time and fall in love right alongside her.
Chapter 11, Final. She made her choice, but something went wrong.
At the edge of the portal, Lalin clenched her fists, her heart pounding like a war drum. She stole one last glance at the portal, its shimmering glow flickering, as if drawing its final breath. Yet her other hand remained firmly gripped by Longyu, his sharp, unwavering gaze locked onto her as though determined to memorize every detail of her before she made her choice. She drew a deep breath, then spoke softly, but with unmistakable resolve. "I will stay here." Longyu's eyes widened slightly, surprise flashing across his usually stoic face. A heavy silence settled between them, before the faintest spark of relief and joy ignited in his dark eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Lalin gave a small, determined nod, her eyes shining with certainty. "I don't know why I was brought here, or what destiny expects of me, but there's one thing I know for sure. I can't abandon everything here, and I don't want to leave you." Amid the chaos at the portal, Longyu's eyes flickered, as if struggling to believe the words he had just heard. But before he could utter a single response, boom! The portal, which had been moments from closing, suddenly shuddered violently. A furious storm of energy erupted outward, swirling with the wrath of a world unbalanced. Lalin felt it at once, an immense force, dragging her toward the glowing vortex. "What's happening?" she gasped, eyes wide with panic. "The portal's losing its balance," Byaxian shouted in alarm, trying to push forward against the roaring wind. "It's collapsing, but not properly." "No, I already chose to stay," Lalin screamed at the top of her lungs, heart pounding with desperation. But her choice, her will, meant nothing in the face of the raging dimensional storm. Byaxian lunged forward to reach her, but the violent winds hurled him back. Princess Sufei, watching from the edge, clasped her hands to her mouth in horror. This was no ordinary closing. This was a catastrophe, and at the center of it all, Lalin clung tightly to Longyu, tears streaming down her face as the furious energy of the portal threatened to rip her away. The final crisis. Longyu clenched his teeth, despair burning in his sharp eyes. He refused to let her go. Not now. Not ever. His hands gripped her arms tighter, channeling every last ounce of his chi to resist the pull of the collapsing portal. "I will never let you go." His voice trembled with determination and desperation all at once. But at that exact moment, from across the battlefield, where he lay battered and broken, Prince Jingyu's lips curved into a twisted, sly smile, gathering the last of his dark energy. Swoosh! A blast of black power shot through the air, straight toward Lalin. "Lalin, watch out!" Byaxian's voice rang out in warning, but it was too late. The dark strike slammed into Lalin's back with brutal force. Just as she clung to Longyu, the impact sent her body flying, crashing directly into the glowing portal. Whoosh! "No!" Longyu roared, his hand snapping out instinctively. But all he caught was the empty air, as her figure was swallowed whole by the collapsing portal's furious light. And then, silence. The portal snapped shut. The storm stopped. And Lin was gone. The final second. "Lalin!" Longyu's roar tore through the night, but the howling winds of the portal devoured her in the blink of an eye. With a final, searing pulse of light, the portal sealed shut. Forever, the world fell eerily silent. The storm vanished as if it had never been. The garden lay still, the moon casting its pale glow over the shattered ground. Lalin was gone. Longyu collapsed to his knees, his hands still stretched out desperately into the empty air, as if he could pull her back from nothingness. Byaxian and Sufei stood frozen, hearts clenched, unable to say a single word. They knew Lin had truly vanished. In Long Yu's residence, days passed. The once lively chambers, where Lalin's laughter and bickering had filled the air, were now silent. Long Yu sat motionless before a pile of scrolls on his desk, but his eyes drifted far away. I couldn't protect you. His fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Suddenly, he rose to his feet. The exhaustion in his gaze was replaced by a fierce determination. I will find a way to bring you back, no matter where you are. In the shadows of Prince Qingyu's manor, though Prince Qingyu had been defeated, the sly smile never left his face. His fingers stroked an ancient tome, and he murmured softly to himself, "The game isn't over yet." Heh. In the third prince's manor, the atmosphere inside Long Yu's residence was more silent than ever before. No bickering, no laughter from the girl from another world, who had once stirred his heart. Everything was still, as if she had never existed here at all. Long Yu sat quietly in his study, moonlight spilling in through the window, casting his long shadow across the floor. The eyes that once held unwavering determination were now clouded with sorrow. In his hand, he tightly gripped the folding fan that Lalin had once mischievously snatched from him on the first day they met. "Have you truly gone, Your Highness?" Bai Xian stepped forward slowly, sighing softly as he took in the sight of his master. "You shouldn't let yourself fall into this state." "I am fine," Long Yu replied in his usual calm tone. But everyone knew he was anything but fine. Bai Xian studied him for a long moment, then spoke quietly. "Do you truly believe she has returned to her own world?" Long Yu's fingers tightened slightly, his voice lowering. "What do you mean by that?" With a faint smirk, Bai Xian pulled an old, worn scroll from inside his sleeve. "Before the dimensional gate closed, I uncovered something about this crossing between worlds. There's something off." Long Yu's eyes narrowed sharply, his attention fully drawn to the scroll in Bai Xian's hands. "You're saying she might still be here?" "I'm not certain," Bai Xian admitted honestly, his eyes dark with thought. "But if she had truly gone back, as the dimensional gate intended, her body should have fully dissolved, dispersed within the flow of the dimensional energy." He paused, his voice turning more serious. "Yet in that final moment, we saw her being struck, forced through the gate not by its pull, but by an external blow. It's as if she didn't return to her original world, but was thrown somewhere else entirely. In the shadows of the unknown, somewhere, far from the palace." Lalin felt the cold brush of air against her skin. Slowly, she opened her eyes, her vision blurred, her body heavy, as if something pinned her to the stone floor. She tried to move, only to feel the harsh bite of cold iron shackles clamped around her wrists. "Where am I?" She struggled to gather her thoughts, eyes darting across the dimly lit room. Ancient stone walls surrounded her, etched with strange, unfamiliar symbols. Heart pounding in the gloom. "I didn't return to my world. But I'm not in Long Yu's palace either. Where is this place?" Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the corridor outside. Lalin held her breath, her heart pounding furiously in her chest. The heavy wooden door creaked open. Torchlight spilled into the chamber, illuminating a tall figure cloaked in black. Sharp eyes, cold and cunning, locked onto hers with a chilling smile. "You really thought I would let you escape so easily?" Lalin's eyes widened in shock. Prince Chengyu, he was alive, and worse, he was the one orchestrating everything behind the scenes. At Princess Sufei's manor. "You're serious, Bai Xian?" Princess Sufei shot to her feet, her eyes wide with shock. "You mean, there's a chance Lalin is still alive?" "I can't be certain yet," Bai Xian replied steadily. "But if she is, we must find her before it's too late." All this time, Long Yu had been silent, his gaze dark and brooding. But now, a spark ignited in his eyes once more. The heavy sorrow that had weighed on him was swept away, replaced by fierce, burning determination. "I will find her," he declared, his voice low but resolute. "No matter where she is, I'll bring her back." In the secret prison of Lord Qingyu, Lalin struggled, pulling at the iron chains around her wrists with all her might. But they were too tight, too strong. Lord Qingyu approached slowly, a mocking smile curling at his lips. "Did you really think," he murmured, voice like ice, "that I would let you meddle in my plans again? What do you want from me?" Lalin hissed, teeth clenched. Qingyu chuckled softly. "I want your power." Lalin's brows furrowed in confusion. "What power?" He stepped closer, eyes gleaming darkly. "Do you truly not know? Ever since you crossed into this realm, you became the key to unlocking A hidden force sealed within the royal bloodline. And I will be the one to control it. A cold shiver ran down Lalin's spine. This is bad. I have to find a way to escape. In the war chamber of Prince Longyu, Longyu clenched the edge of the map tightly, his sharp eyes blazing with determination. Beside him stood Bai Xian and Princess Sufei, flanked by their finest soldiers. We must find her, Longyu declared firmly. Wherever she is, I will bring her back. Far away, in the depths of his lair, Lord Qingyu sat calmly, his fingers tapping lightly on an ancient tome. Even though Longyu was preparing to strike, the game was far from over. In Lord Qingyu's secret dungeon, Lalin panted hard. Her fierce eyes locked onto Lord Qingyu. Though her body was bound, her spirit remained utterly unbroken. You really think I'd let you in so easily? Lalin smirked defiantly, feeling a strange surge of golden energy stirring inside her body. What are you saying? Qingyu's brow furrowed. But before he could react, a brilliant wave of golden chi burst from Lalin's form. Meanwhile, outside the secret dungeon, charge in, now! Lang Yu's voice rang out, as he and Bai Xian led the soldiers storming inside. The third prince's sharp eyes swept across the chamber and froze. There, standing tall in the center of the chaos, was Lalin, landing punch after punch on Lord Qingyu, who was now crumpled on the ground. She doesn't even need us to rescue her, does she? Bai Xian whispered to Princess Sufei beside him. It seems not. Sufei chuckled softly, a sparkle in her eye. But Lang Yu ignored everything else. Without another word, he strode straight toward Lalin and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. You're alive. His low voice was barely audible, but it was thick with overwhelming emotion. Lalin blinked up at him, then broke into a wide grin. Of course I am. I haven't married your highness yet. Have I? The fall of Prince Qingyu. This isn't over yet. Prince Qingyu roared, struggling to get up. But in an instant, the soldiers of Prince Longyu pinned him down firmly. You deserve punishment, Longyu said coldly, his eyes sharp as ice. He turned slightly, nodding toward Princess Sufei and Bai Xian. I'll handle this myself. Princess Sufei smiled sweetly, though her eyes gleamed with cunning. You will pay for everything you've done. Qingyu's face twisted in fury, but he was powerless now. The schemer who once pulled the strings had finally been captured. At the palace after the battle, several days later, peace returned to the royal palace. Lalin was honored as a special guest of the kingdom, and most importantly, the wedding of the third prince and the woman from another world was about to take place. I still can't believe I'm marrying a prince, Lalin whispered softly, as she stood beside Longyu, dressed in her beautiful bridal gown. I can't believe I fell in love with the most troublesome woman in the entire kingdom, Longyu teased in his usual cold tone. But his eyes shone with undeniable warmth. But you love me, don't you? Lalin grinned widely. The third prince let out a small sigh before leaning in and whispering against her ear. I love you, and I will never let you slip away from me again. At the third prince's residence, after surviving countless hardships and battles, Lalin thought she could finally return to a normal life in the palace. But she was wrong. The once cold, stern, and distant Prince Longyu had now transformed into a full-blown, hopelessly in love husband. You're eating too little, that deep voice murmured beside her ear before Longyu's chopsticks reached over, placing a large piece of meat into Lalin's bowl. You need to eat more. Understand? Lalin stared at her now overflowing rice bowl, packed with the best dishes from the table, before glancing up at her husband in disbelief. Your Highness, were you always like this? What do you mean? He raised an eyebrow. Well, like a husband who loves his wife. Longyu cut in smoothly, lifting his teacup to sip while casting her a sly, knowing glance. Lalin nearly choked on her rice, coughing as her face turned crimson. Bai Xian, sitting nearby, burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, princess consort. I truly sympathize with you. Bai Xian, don't laugh. Lalin whipped around, glaring at him, her cheeks blazing like ripe persimmons. But Longyu simply looked at her with satisfied eyes. His hand reached out to gently wipe the corner of her mouth, his voice dropping to a low murmur by her ear. Don't defy me again. You belong to me now. Oh no. I'm going to melt. First night after the wedding, Lalin stood hesitantly at the doorway of the bedchamber, her eyes darting nervously, her heart pounding like a drum. Why am I so nervous? It's just going to bed. That's all, she tried to calm herself. But the moment she stepped inside, she froze. There, waiting for her, was Long Yu, dressed in a light robe. His long black hair cascading naturally over his shoulders, his handsome face wearing a faint smile that made her heart race even harder. "You're here," he said in a low, velvety voice. I mean, where should I sleep?" Lalin stammered, instinctively stepping backward. "Our bed, of course," Long Yu replied smoothly, taking slow, deliberate steps toward her. "Or, shall I carry you there myself?" "What are you planning to do?" Lalin blurted, backing up until her back hit the wall. "You are my wife," he murmured, placing his hands on either side of her head, trapping her within his arms. "I can do whatever I want, can't I? Where did my stoic, cold prince go? This is definitely a sly, wicked prince." The next day, Xian was enjoying his tea leisurely when he caught sight of Lalin stepping out of the prince's residence. Faint pink marks still visible on her cheeks. He immediately choked on his tea, nearly spraying it out. "Princess consort, how was last night?" he asked with a mischievous grin. "Baishi?" Lalin shrieked, her face flushing a deep red, as she grabbed a nearby pillow and whacked him squarely. Xian burst into laughter. Just as Princess Sufei happened to walk by, she paused, taking in the scene with an amused look, before nodding slowly. As expected of my little brother," she murmured slyly. "He's turned into quite the lovesick husband, hasn't he? The fall of the Tsundere prince. Your Highness, you really need to let me go now," Lalin huffed, struggling to pry off the strong arms wrapped tightly around her from behind. "No," Long Yu murmured softly into her ear, his voice filled with a tenderness no one had ever seen from him before. "I still want to hold you a little longer." You're impossible," Lalin sighed, though her heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst from her chest. The married life of the love-struck prince. "I'm just going out for a walk. You really don't need to follow me," Lalin said, glancing back at her husband, who was trailing her like a shadow. "No," Long Yu answered flatly. "I'm only going to the market," she insisted. "And what if someone looks at you?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. "Let them look," Lalin shot back immediately. "No." His voice was firm as he gripped her hand even tighter. "Only I'm allowed to look at you." Lalin's cheeks flushed bright red. "Oh my little brother, you're this possessive over your wife?" Princess Sufei teased as she passed by. "So what?" Long Yu replied with a deadpan expression, still refusing to let go of Lin's hand. Xian chuckled, shaking his head. "I always thought the cold-hearted prince would never change. I take it all back." A sweet and perfect ending. That night, Lalin sat quietly on the bed, watching Long Yu as he tied his long hair, getting ready for sleep. Without realizing it, a soft smile crept onto her face. "What are you looking at?" Long Yu raised an eyebrow. "I'm looking at my husband," she answered playfully, tilting her chin up with a grin. Long Yu gave a small smile before pulling her into a tight embrace. "I'm glad you chose to stay with me." Lalin rested her head against his chest, murmuring softly, "And I'm glad. I crossed worlds and met you. Even though I was thrown into this world so unexpectedly, in the end, I truly made the right choice." Please follow the channel so you don't miss the next story.